This isn't my first time filming this video. I actually filmed it already and I hated it, so I'm doing it again. Basically, I wrote out all the things I wanted to say, almost like a script, and I made the video and I watched it back and it just felt really scripted, which it was. And I thought, that's not what I'm about, it's not what my channel's about. So I thought, scrap that, let's just start again, sit down and let's have a chat. Okay, so I said in one of my previous videos that the reason I'd taken a break from YouTube was because I wasn't enjoying it anymore and it wasn't good for me, it wasn't good for my mental health, and I wasn't enjoying it. And that's true, that wasn't a lie, that's true. But there was another reason, and that was that I was going through a little bit of a journey. I was going through the process of being diagnosed for ADHD. If that comes as a surprise to you, it came as an even bigger surprise to me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how it came about, and yeah, that's what we're going to do today. During lockdown, I was really struggling, and I was struggling to get anything done. I just couldn't seem to function, basically. And I've never thought of myself as someone who likes structure and routine, but I think I didn't realise how much I rely on structure and routine, and without that I was just completely lost. As time went on, I felt really lost, I felt really confused, I didn't know what I was doing with my life, about my career and everything. I felt really lost, basically. So I did a lot of sort of self-reflection during that time, and what I realised was, rather than not being able to function because I was depressed because I wasn't managing to function, which was like a bit of a and I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know why that was happening, and I felt like I say, really lost and confused. That is when I decided I would take a step back from YouTube, because I just didn't know, I didn't feel like myself, and I couldn't come on and be authentic with you guys when I felt that way without being honest and sharing that, and I wasn't really ready to share that. I wanted to do that privately and figure out what was going on. So I basically had no knowledge of ADHD before I started researching it, and my only understanding of it was like when you hear about kids being hyperactive and misbehaving, and you hear people flippantly saying, oh, I think they've got ADHD. That was all I knew of ADHD, and I realise now that it's so much more than that. Actually, one YouTuber that I've been watching for a long time, she's an American mum, and she does a lot of homemaker type videos, and she's mentioned before in her videos that she has ADHD. And I was watching one of her videos about organisation, and she was talking about how she organises being someone who has ADHD. I had no experience of any adults having ADHD, and what I knew of ADHD, what I thought I knew of ADHD, she didn't seem that way. So I was really interested to know how it affected her. And one thing that I do a lot, which I now know is related to my ADHD, as soon as So if I come across something that I don't know about, I then go and research it. So I didn't know about this, and I decided to go and research about it. So what I did was something which I now know is hyperfocus. I hyperfocused on that, and I found out everything about adult ADHD, specifically in women. And the more I read about other people with adult ADHD, women with adult ADHD, it was like I was reading about myself, which is something that I did not expect at all. And it was kind of a light bulb moment. It was like, hang on, is this why I am how I am? And everything that I've experienced in my whole life, everything that I thought was faults of mine, things that I thought were failings on my part, could be sort of explained by ADHD, which was like mind-blowing to me. And at that point I decided that I needed to look into it further. So just to give you an idea of some of the things that I'm talking about, things like when I was younger, I didn't stick at any hobbies. I would always want to try new hobbies, and then once I'd tried them, I would want to move on to something else. I haven't really stuck at, I've had loads of jobs, so many jobs, and I've never stuck at one particular job for any length of time. I will do a job, I'll really enjoy it, and then I'll move on to something else. And what else? This is another thing, my memory, my train of thought, losing things, my organisation. And that might come as a surprise to you, because I think a lot of people, from watching my videos and things, would think that I'm really organised. And even in my real life, I know a lot of people with like my planners and things say, oh my goodness, you're so organised. I wish I was that organised. But actually, I've had to be that organised because it doesn't come naturally to me. And that is a strategy that I've developed over the years, and I have loads of strategies that I've developed to try and work around my ADHD without even knowing. I just knew these are things I struggled with, and I found ways to work around them. Another thing which I have learned about since is masking. So masking is basically like putting on a mask. So I have loads of ways that I kind of hid how I was. Not intentionally, not like in a deceptive way, but I just didn't want anyone to know my faults. And now I know that that is a thing, masking, and it's something that I did for years. And I think that is probably why this came to light during the pandemic, because during lockdown, everyone was home 24/7, all my family, and it then became really impossible to mask my symptoms. Some other things that I struggle with, time blindness is one, which means I don't really have any concept of time. And again, I've got loads of strategies that I use to work around that. I struggle to focus on things that are not interesting to me. And the reason for that, I'll go into this more in future videos, but the reason for that is people with ADHD have lower levels of dopamine, and so we're always searching for things that are going to give us dopamine. So things like one thing I do a lot, binge eating loads of sweets and things, because you get that good feeling, that quick dopamine release, and that's what I crave because I'm low in dopamine. So things like sitting down and doing a boring task that other adults do because they just need to, and that's life, I really struggle with because I don't get any dopamine from that, and my body is constantly like craving dopamine and trying to find it. So then instead of doing the boring task, I want to go and do something that I enjoy or is going to give me that quick dopamine release. That's me putting it in really simple terms, but that's kind of how it is. Also, I struggle to focus in on detail. Like if I have for example, in my work, if I had a contract in front of me and it had loads of details of what was required for, say, a video, I would look over it, but I would find it so difficult to focus in on the details. So if there was something specifically that a client had asked for, sometimes my management would come back to me and say, oh, have you got maybe this Instagram story that they'd asked for? And I'll be like, oh, I didn't know they'd asked for that. And it was in the contract, but I'd missed it. So things like that. And again, I've got loads of strategies that I've now got in place, but I'm going to talk about that in a future video. But basically, I could talk about this. I find it so fascinating. So I could talk about this like till the cows come home. Basically, if you're an adult with ADHD, to be diagnosed, you have to have had it before the age of 12. So that was something that once I got referred from my GP, who has been amazing, once I got referred to a specialist at the hospital, that was something they had to look into. So they had to go back to my childhood, and they got reports from like my parents, and we looked back at old school reports and that kind of thing, and he was able to determine that I had it as a child, and that was part of the diagnosis. You don't get it as an adult, you have to have had it before the age of 12, but you might only be diagnosed as an adult. And they call my age group, and probably a little bit before and after, the missed generation, because it wasn't as well known, and particularly it wasn't recognised in girls. And there's a massive amount, I don't know the statistics, I could look them up, but ADHD, I don't want to. There's a massive amount of females my kind of age that went undiagnosed. And a lot of us now are discovering ADHD and realising that we have it and getting diagnosis, which is brilliant. And that is why I want to make this video, and I'm going to be making loads of ADHD videos if that's something that interests you. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out, because if you do have ADHD, you'll probably forget about me and this channel and my videos. So make sure you subscribe so that you get reminders of my videos. But I want to raise kind of awareness and spread some knowledge about it, because like I say, it was something I knew nothing about, and it has been life-changing for me being diagnosed. I'm also on medication now, which helps enormously with it, and I will talk about that in a future video. I've actually been filming a video diary each day from the first day that I started taking my medication. So if there's anyone that is starting medication that is interested to know how it feels and the process, I've documented that because I thought that would be quite interesting. It is a genetic condition, so there's a good chance that I inherited it from a parent or an aunt or uncle or someone. My kids might have it. That is not clear at the moment. It's something I'm going to look out for. But yeah, I wanted to share that with you. And like I say, if it's come as a surprise to you, it has come as a massive surprise to me. I thought people with ADHD were hyperactive, full of energy. That wasn't me, and I thought I couldn't have ADHD. But what I know now is that I have a hyperactive mind. Well, I knew that anyway, but I didn't know that was why. My mind is like racing constantly, and the opposite of having full of energy, I would hit a slump at the middle of the day where I was exhausted and need to sleep. And what I know now is that because my brain was like the only way I can describe it is like a bee's hive, like so busy, so full on, that I would hit a wall and just be like, I need to switch off, because I was literally exhausted from thinking. So yeah, opposite of having heaps of energy, I was exhausted. And now I'm on medication that has been hugely helped. So yeah, so this diagnosis has been honestly life-changing for me, and it explains so much from my childhood to now. A lot of adults with ADHD are self-employed because they find it easier to work for themselves than having to work for someone else. They're often divorced. Lots of things that I read and was like, tick, tick, tick. So this video is basically just kind of an introduction to the fact that I have ADHD. I'm going to do more specific videos about my symptoms, about my medication, about the diagnosis process. Anything you want to know, please pop in the comments, because I have got so many video ideas. I might even do a Q&A one if there's any specific questions. But yeah, I'm really keen to share all that with you. If you enjoy my video, I would love if you give it a thumbs up. If you give it a thumbs down, that also helps my channel, so thank you. And I would love if you'd subscribe and stick around. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today. I hope this video has been, if nothing else, entertaining, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye.